I hope everyone remembers where we had stopped. So I'll just make a quick recap and you'll remember it. So here we are in D20 employee backend. So what is the current topic I'm showing you is the validation framework. So are we discussing client-side validation or server-side validation, C or S? We are discussing server-side validation. For using basic server-side validation, do you need to supply the code or simply add the properties? Simply add the annotations. You just have an annotation. And in case of, suppose your front end is sending the entire payload containing of your POJO, the kind of transient POJO, the JSON representation of it, of course, and you want to confirm where will you add these annotations such as not null, not empty, not blank, @email, @pattern on the POJO properties, not on the POJO class level, on the POJO properties. Okay. And I'm telling you the design considerations because everything I cannot show. If you read any good book, including Spring what? A REST API in action or Spring REST in action. So the author suggests that you should not use the entities to supply, to use it in a front end, back end, to use as a data transfer object. So if time permits, I'll show you. We will create another layer. Entities, POJOs will keep it only for managing the managing the database, and we'll create a data transfer object which will act as a payload or as the DTO between client and a server. Client and a server means front end and a back end. But currently we are not doing that. So where will you add these annotations? On the properties of POJO. Later, if I get time, otherwise I'll share you a lot of ready-made code samples for your project help. So there I have used the DTO pattern, data transfer object. So then they will be applied on the DTO properties. Currently, you can think of it as a POJO property. Now, so we had added, as everyone knows, we had added on com app POJOs couple of annotations. So who is going to check all of these rules? These are nothing but validation constraints. Answer is Spring Container. And was it doing this checking automatically before using @valid annotation? I'll repeat my question. I said, was Spring Container calling these validation rules even before we added @valid annotation? It's a Boolean question, yes or no? Or was it ignoring these rules? Calling or ignoring? Ignoring, you are saying, come on, even without @valid, you were getting that constraint violation exception. So how can you say ignore? That is why, guys, of course, Spring Container was calling the rules just after deserialization. But what was the error response it was sending to the client? It was a server internal error. It wasn't reflecting and giving us a detail such as bad request, not bad client, bad request, HTTP 400, and we were not getting it on the front end. But the moment we added it on the controller, understand the questions properly always, the moment you added @valid here, and anytime you have an update method, we did the updations also. So when you are updating, again, whenever user is giving you the new employee details, do you want to do it with validation or without validation? Answer is, of course, with validations. So for post and put endpoints, we are adding the validation rule. But what is the disadvantage still? Even after adding the POJO annotations and the @valid annotation, was your what? Was your Spring Container sending the entire error stack trace to the client, or was it not? It was sending or not sending? Answer is it was sending. So the last thing I said before the break was, now the solution is you can add your own try-catch block and you can do your own. Instead of relying on Spring Container's default exception handling mechanism, we can do it in our own manner. In short, we are replacing Spring Container's default exception handling by ours. Is the point clear? I've shown you the validations. Now I'm showing you the exception handling part. So like in core Java, we had always done, everywhere we were using throws keyword to delegate the exception handling to the caller, and we were having only single try catch block. Understood what I said? We have done it literally 100 plus times. Throws keyword was used for delegation of exception handling to the caller. Yes or no? In core Java. Okay. So now similar thing we are going to do, but without using any throws class, that will be replaced by couple of annotations. So let me see whether I had sent you this readme. I was wanting to cover it yesterday, but let me see. Day 19 help. Just a second. I'm just checking. Day 19 data में. Day 19 help. Yes. Please open day 19 data, day 19 help, and there is a readme which I had supplied yesterday. What is that readme name? Regarding Spring Boot exception handling and validations. Found it? You will find it in yesterday's data. You tell me quickly, found or not, so that you know I don't have to send you again. It is there. Day 19 data, day 19 help. Got it? Okay. So I have given in steps. So what was the objective? Add presentation logic validations. When I say presentation logic validations, whatever payload your front end is sending to backend, we are adding this. So we have already added the Spring Boot validation starter. So validation dependency is already added in the form.xml. We have added. Mute yourself, guys. So we have this thing. I'm trying to mute all. People I don't get this option of mute all. I can't mute all, guys. Madam, I can't mute all. I don't see this option at all. So you'll have to mute all the guys. Please do that. So here, this thing. Shubham, I can see Shubham talking. Please mute yourself, Shubham, because I don't think there is any other host on the call. Anyway, so let me ignore. So here we have already identified that these annotations we have added, and those are imported mostly from javax.validation. Can anyone tell him to mute? It's causing a lot of disturbance. Please tell him to mute, maybe on WhatsApp or something. Okay, so these are the two packages we have imported, and to send the response properly to the front end, for validating the request body, we have added @valid annotation. So this is done. Container performs unmarshalling and validation. Don't read this because I have not added this, and you saw the entire error stack. So what was the observation? Observation was, still is unmuted. Observation was we got a HTTP status 400, but entire stack trace was sent to the client. So now I'm telling you how to get rid of this and how to decide how to generate our own error response data and send it to the client. Is the requirement clear? So for that, impossible to continue. Somebody on the call, some lab faculty, whoever is the host, please mute all. Yeah, thanks, Shubham. So I think he is muted. Somebody has muted him. Thank you. Because it gets so disturbing, so distracting. So the next objective which I'm showing you is adding a global or our centralized exception handler. So this was for some other requirement. Right now, don't worry about that. So how to do that? First, understand the steps, understand it in a, step-by-step manner, and we'll implement it together. So I've written it in a question answer format. How to add this exception handler? First question, how many such classes you'll have to write? Exactly one. You can write multiple such exception handlers. Typically, suggestion is one. And which are the two annotations which will do the trick for us? One is @controller advice, and the next one is exception handler. So forget exception handler. Focus on @controller advice. This is a subtype or specialized form of @component annotation. You remember @component annotation which we discussed on the second day of Spring? And that those subtypes are @repository, @service, @controller. So I'm introducing a new class level annotation, and read this word carefully. The moment you read this word, I think you will understand. Listen to the statement. See, whatever are DAO layer errors, are we handling it in the DAO layer or are they getting delegated to service? H for handling, D for delegation. I said DAO layer errors handled in the DAO layer or delegated to the service layer. No response? Have we written any try-catch blocks in the DAO layer? Simple question I'm asking, guys. I don't know why answer I'm not getting. So you should be answering fast. Of course, delegated to service layer. Have we added any try-catch block? So are we handling the exceptions in the service or are we delegating it to the topmost layer as a controller? Everyone understands it? Because nowhere in between I have written the try-catch block. So now the exception handling is delegated to the topmost layer. Which is the topmost layer? You can say in the web MVC application, controller, otherwise REST controller. Everyone understands me? Okay. So now read the word controller advice. So this is a class which is going to provide the advice, suggestion to the controller so that the controller code will consist of, your choices are request handling logic, exception handling logic, both or neither. The moment I said we are going to add a class controller advice, what is it going to contain? The controller will contain request handling logic, exception handling, both or neither. The add controller annotated. Okay, you lost me. I think our English communication issue. I'll say this again. We have one class annotated with controller or REST controller. Okay, so that is one. Now I'm saying the moment I separate it into another class, we are going to write in 2 minutes a class annotated with controller advice. So after separating this, after writing this separate class controller advice, what will be the logic, what will be the code you will end up writing in your controller as well as REST controller? Those choices I was giving you. Request handling logic, exception handling logic, or both or neither. I think it was my communication problem. Exception handling, people are saying in controller. Guys, where are you? Wake up. Only request handling. So this is what? This is again separation of concerns. So tell me, there's a term. See, the next topic I'm going to show you is AOP, aspect oriented programming. So I'm just preparing you for the next topic. So let me ask you. Concern means what? A task is equal to responsibility. So would you like to handle these exceptions in every controller method, or would you like to do it in a separate manner in one class? At least answer that. In a separate manner. Understands me? So now what is it we are doing? We are doing separation of concerns. In controller, only request handling logic. And in the class annotated with controller advice, which logic? Exception handling, request handling, both or neither. Exception handling. I think now we are clear. So this is called as, okay, so I'm using the jargon here. Jargon means technical term. So this exception handling is called as cross-cutting concern. Cross-cutting concern means what? The same boilerplate logic which is required, let us say in your employee controller, in your, products controller or test controller or anything. So instead of putting it in every controller, isn't it a better practice to separate it and write it as a global exception handling class? Understood the statements I'm making? So here, when you write a class, annotate, this is a class level annotation. Read this twice. So controller advice is going to be your class level annotation, which will have what? Global exception handler. Okay. So it is going to Read the next one. It is going to be an interceptor. So listen to this. Which was the exception we got? That method invalid argument exception, constraint violation, etc. So these anytime in the request handling there is an exception. Who will be intercepting these exceptions now? Your choices are Spring's default exception handler or our own custom exception handler annotated with controller advice. Clear-cut questions. Understanding the point? Because if I jump in it, you don't follow. So of course, our own custom exception handler. That is the whole idea. And then we can control what to send to the caller, what to send to the front end. Okay. So this is what is the nothing but an interceptor pattern. Like how our dispatcher servlet was a common interceptor to intercept all the requests, the class annotated with controller advice will only intercept the exceptions, and those exceptions typically in the request handling. But so that is your class level annotation over. But are we going to write? Okay, so in that case, I'll rephrase it. We are going to write the exception handling methods. Okay, so one exception could be your method argument not valid exception. One could be your custom exception, resource not found. One could be your normal runtime exception, checked exception, unchecked exception, etc. So we will be writing methods in this exception handler class. But how to tell Spring Container whatever follows is my exception handling method? Answer is there. Which annotation to tell the container that whatever follows is my exception handling code or exception handling method? The annotation itself is @exception handler. Okay. So which are the two annotations I'm talking about? Controller advice and exception handler. Where will controller advice annotation come? Class level or method level? Class level. Where will @exception handler annotation will come? Method level. Can one global handler, custom exception handler, can it have multiple exception handling methods or a single one? Answer is multiple. So in short, can we have multiple such methods annotated with @exception handler? Very much yes. Everything crystal clear so far? Completely clear so far? Okay. So now let me take you ahead. So guys, this validation framework I'm showing you is for, yeah, Rishikesh, good. So this I'm showing you this thing for the front, full stack application. So let me ask you, in case of full stack, that is front end and a backend, in case of error response also, in case of error response, what should backend return to the front end? A JSON data. Everything we are sending it in what? JSON format, which is the representation of error response. Okay. But you remember yesterday I showed you a class, response entity. So tell me, what does response entity class represent? Is it body content? Is it status code? Is it header? Or is it all of above? Everyone understands? Complete response packet, all of above. So guys, see the beauty. Again, Spring gives you so many things. There is a class which I'm going to ask you to open in a minute. Spring Framework has a class. This is nothing about Spring Boot. Everything taken from Spring Framework. Spring Boot just makes it very easily available. So read the name of the class. The class we are going to extend it from is response entity exception handler. Okay, instead of me, okay, I have written this, I've taken it from the Java docs itself. So what is it? All these are pure, see guys, if you use in projects your global exception handler, anyone will ask you, what is this base class? What is this super class doing? So example, it is a convenient means helper base class, super class for @controller and annotated advice classes to provide global, as in centralized exception handling for all request mapping, all request handling methods through one annotation. Okay. So here, this makes it so easy if you extend from it, and you will see there are so many methods that are already given you. So wait a second. Opens from somewhere. From somewhere means I've given you the Spring docs. So here, simply look for response entity. Okay. Entity exception handler. Okay. So here, we are still in OSWS MVC method annotation. Read this. The same thing which I picked up in my README. So a convenient base class for controller advice annotator classes to give you the access to exception handling methods. Okay. And which is the method level annotation we are going to use is @exception handler. And you will see soon it has got lot of methods. So I have a small question for you. Actually, it is not a question. Please open your, what is it called? This thing. I've got this. Okay, I'll run this again. Just a second. I want to show you the name of the exception. I want to make it clear. So let me just run this here. B20 employee backend. 2 minutes only. Oh, that was a post method. Okay, I checked this and now I'm adding this post method. Oh, it was here actually. And anyway, I'm sending the empty data. So guys, please understand. Of course, we were getting a bad request, but now I'm asking you. I'll just put it. Do I have it here? Oh, I have it here. Okay. So which is the name of the exception it is throwing us? Just give me the name of the exception, please. You can give it in short form. Default, no. That is the exception handler. What are you saying? Here, method argument not valid exception. And then there is a validation field and all that. This is the name of the default handler. Default handler exception resolver. Don't get confused. Method argument not valid exception. Now, come here and look for a method. Control F, handle method argument not valid exception. See, I'm trying to make sense before I jump into it. So here, read the, I'm taking you very slowly. What is it I'm showing you? This is the class we are going to extend from in a minute. What is the name of the class? Response entity exception handler. What does it mean? It represents a super class, which we will extend to create our global exception handler, to create our customized global error handler. And we will add 2 annotations: controller advice, class level, exception handler, method level. But why extend from it? The answer is there are already methods. So take a look at it. What is the method you are looking at? Handle method argument not valid. And which is the exception it is handling? Tell me, which is the first argument? Method argument not valid exception. Are you understanding what I'm saying? And here you can see this. So you have all of it here, method argument not valid exception. And with this, see one liner. What is it we are going to do? Are we going to inherit this method from the superclass, or are we going to override this method to customize the error response sent to the client? Inherit or override? Simple question, simple answer. So this is what we are doing. Okay. So let us get started. I'll explain it point by point, and whenever you will get stuck, we will get you back to the API. Okay. So stop your Spring Boot app. Okay. And what we are doing is a very important thing. I showed you the validation framework. Now I'm showing you the common exception handling. Your application, backend application will work without it, but that value, that impression you will get with your interviewers or evaluators will be very less. So add all these tricks. So coming back, let's say close everything. So day 20. So here I'm adding a class. Okay. So click on SRC main Java, create a class. And let's keep this everything under our base package, which I have given as com.app. So com.app, and let's say exception handler. So custom exception is different. That is your classes extending from the unchecked exception. This is your exception handler. And let's give it a name. I generally call it as global exception handler. So typically in entire web application, web application means the backend application, you can keep one. So I can always extend it from, anyway, I'll do the extension later. So creator this. But if I do this much, I won't get to override some inherited method. So I'm saying extends from response entity exception handler. Do this much. And all the methods are already implemented. So it doesn't force you to implement anything, but we will do that. You'll know everything in the next 10 to 15 minutes. You tell me just, you keep responding that done and all that, so that I can take you further. Create a class under the base package, give the sub package name as exception handler and call a global exception handler with this. Start answering the questions. How do you tell the Spring container that this class is a global exception handler, which will provide the advice, see the words I'm using, to your controllers regarding exception handling? So the statement is too big. Answer is so easy. So controller advice. Read. Specialization of add component for the classes that declare exception handler. We are not using other things to be shared across multiple controller classes. We will write our description. So add a description. It's a mandatory annotation. Mandatory class level. I'll give you the comments in a minute. Annotation to tell. Once again, this has no Spring Boot. Spring Boot just gives me this dependency easily, the validation starter dependency, and this. Otherwise, it's all Spring framework. To tell Spring container that following class will contain exception handling, I'll say global or centralized, you can say global exception handling methods. Okay. So this is the mandatory this to this, and offers a common advice. I'm highlighting the word advice, guys, because the next topic I typically take is a AOP, Spring AOP. I take the in a linked manner, this way. So you will use you will hear the words advice, advisor, proxy, target, all in Spring AOP. So offers a common advice to whom? Is it offering the advice to DAO layer or service or POJOs? Absolutely not. To the controller layer regarding exception handling. So in simple words, don't write a comment. I will share those comments with you. In simple words, so after adding this class, this is like an essay I'm writing. You can write it from wherever. After adding this class, the controller classes will contain. This is what I was asking you. Request handling logic, exception handling logic, both or neither. Mix up or separation. What will it contain? Only request handling logic. Are you getting this? So this is a separation of concern. This is a common task. Exception handling is pretty common, which is required for all the controllers. So why put it in the controller? Why not nicely centralize it? That's the whole philosophy. Controller classes will contain simply request handling logic, and your below class or a class below will contain request handling or only exception handling logic, resulting into what? Separation of concerns. And concern is nothing but the tasks. So the one task was your what was that one task? The request handling. The other task is exception handling. So there is a proper, well-defined separation. Sent you the comments. Okay. And why extend from this? I already explained. It has already got lot of request handling methods. So one of them we are going to override. Okay. So I think you came here and let's overall. So let me show you this again. So this is that handle method argument not valid. So let's override the method source, override implement methods. So many are there. They are for different purposes. So handle method. I hope did you notice what I said? I just said source, override implement methods, and here look for handle method argument not valid and selected. Okay, and here I'm just checking one thing. Give me a minute. It's not showing me the. It's not taking me the source code. No, I just wanted to see, is it automatic? Anyway, how to add, how to tell the container that this is your exception handling method. Add a exception handler annotation. I think you won't require it here, is what I'm guessing. Anyway, let's do this. And which is the method it is having? Is that exception handler. Okay, I'll show you from the API docs, otherwise you'll get confused. So here, look for exception handler. It comes with the class. It has some requirement. So exception handler annotation. Just look at it here. I'll show you the exception handler annotation. Annotation for handling exceptions in specific handler classes or handler methods. And it has a parameter of the type exception argument, and then request response objects and all of that. So many things it can have. So I'm showing you the easy one. I think your people not even require it. I'm just checking. Just let me, I'm testing it because in some cases, in one example, I'll take where it is compulsory, but for this method, it may not be required. 2 minutes will do the testing. So here, we will add the exception handler for other. So write it for all other exceptions. There can be a null pointer. There can be other runtime exceptions. Add common exception handling method. Okay. So this I will write first, and then we'll come to this in a minute. So here, if I want to tell the container that this is your exception handling method, here 100% you require @exception handler. And here you have to supply the class, which exception handling class you are having. So here, let's say all exceptions in Spring and Hibernate are of the type runtime. So runtime exception.class. Typical strategy is public. This is having a response entity we are going to send. So as before, I can say response entity. This is little hard to understand. So it is okay. Even if you don't type parallelly, you sit back. I'll give you time to catch up. First understand, sorry. I want the response entity just of the type question mark. And typically the pattern is give the method name as handle. The name starts with handle. See, I'm following the design pattern same, naming pattern same. And which exception it is handling is runtime exception. And the argument which is passed typically is the runtime exception instance. Let's say E. And since we are trying out things for the first time, we are of course going to, I'm just checking here. Wait a second. Yeah. So I'll just add a SOP here. In handle runtime exception. So I'm definitely going to override this, but first I'm giving override. No, I'm not overriding. First, I'm showing you the easy variety. And as a example, I'll simply say this plus C. Okay, so you will know what it is. Now, Keep this on the back end. I know this is a little confusing, so give me 2 minutes. Okay, 5 minutes for complete clarity. So now tell me, focus on this. I'll say the same thing. How do you tell Spring Container that this is your error handling or exception handling method? Here at exception handler, annotation is compulsory. I'm just going to test it whether it is compulsory here at all. And what is it you pass as the argument to the annotation is the class whose instance you are trying to catch. So I want to catch all other runtime errors other than this special one. So handle runtime exception. I can say handle any method name, but the norm is here. And then we'll see whether it is able to handle our own runtime error. So now just answer my simple questions. What should this method return? The return type is a response entity. Everyone knows the response entity type. Response entity is that class which has response status code, optionally header, and the response body. So here I'll write in comment first, send error response wrapped in response entity. So here, this is not a success response. Successful things are never going to be intercepted this method. So a suggestion is create a separate data transfer object. Here is my chance to show you the DTO pattern. DTO is like a POJO, but has nothing common with the database. So this error response, we are going to create it. I am going to create it as a data transfer object, and that will be wrapped in the error response. That will be wrapped in the response entity and will be sent to the client. So it is a couple of steps process. So let me just satisfy the compiler by saying return null. Otherwise, it will keep on giving you the errors. So focus on step-by-step approach. Open the package explorer. I will recap the whole thing, but you'll have to first, like I said, stop coding. First, let this work. So src main Java, a class. Don't mix up your data transfer objects, which are going to be sent as the JSON representation with front end with the entities. So I'm creating com.app.dto. And here I'm calling it as itself as error response. These are the typical names we take. And now this much you can answer. If I want to send the error response to the front end, currently which is what? A postman. What all you would like to add in this error response? It is going to be converted into JSON. Anyone wants to answer? What would you like to add in this error response, DTO? Error message, status code. Yeah, I'm getting the information. Very right. And anything else? Maybe the timestamp also. At which time this error took place. You got me? So here you can add, let's add the data members here. Private string. It is an error response. So I'll simply say message will be an error message. You can add a status code. I'm going to add a response entity. So I'll not even add a status code. Status code we will add in the response entity packet. And here I'll just add a timestamp. So local date time. Remember, local date only holds date. This holds the this. So I'll call it as a timestamp property. Okay. So I'll start with this. Let's see whether it is sufficient for informing the client. In my case, Lombok annotations are working fine. So I will add no args constructor. I'll add all args constructor. I'll require it soon. You'll see. And I'll add the add data. Okay. So these are the, so what all it will generate? Default constructor, all argument constructor, all getters, setters, hash code equals and toString. If you say I don't require hash code equals and all that, you can have separate annotations, add getter, add setter, add toString. So your choice. So this reduces our code a lot. Now let's come here and send. So here return, see this. Now this is really a server side error, a specific Constraint violation I'm handling separately. So I'll write something. Let's see whether you understand. Response entity dot status. I'll just explain. I think I won't even have to explain this also. HTTP status dot internal, because this is different one, server error dot body, and that body content would be new, or okay, that will be maybe too much for you to understand. So I'll write it in 2 steps. You can always convert it into 1 step. Error response, new error response, and a message. Okay, just a second. What I'll do is, okay, I'll do it from here. Wait a second. So error message. So here, something went wrong, or with the root cause. I want to add the root cause, e dot get message, and the next one is the timestamp. So local time dot now. Okay, and here I think I have to build the response. So I have to send that response. So now take a minute and understand what all I did. Okay, so I have not yet taken care of your constraint violation. Before that, I just wanted to explain the whole working. So which is the method level annotation? Exception handler. Which exception it is going to handle? I'll give you the choices. Let's see how much you are, or already have you given up types. Is it going to handle method argument not valid exception, or all the remaining? Simple question, simple answer. Remaining ones. Why? Because I have already going to write in a minute a specialized handler for that. But if there is any other error, which error? I'll tell you, empty optional or resource not found exception, our errors, it will be submitted to that. Okay, so how do you write all this? The name of the annotation, method level annotation is exception handler. And what is the argument here you have to supply is the class required, or whatever exception you're handling, that class reference. This is only for our understanding. And the whole idea is to send a proper error data response or error response to the caller, which is nothing but a front end. So for that I created a data transfer object. This is not your entity. Entity means that it has a corresponding table and all. So it is simply a data transfer object between what? Front end and a back end. And are we going to send this DTO, or are we going to send its representation? DTO or its representation? Important questions only I'm asking you. Representation. And which representational style we have chosen? Using those Jackson jars, JSON. So again, marshalling is going to take place. And then I'm building the error response with an error message. Something went wrong on the server side. Oops, and all you can add. And here, a proper error message and the timestamp. And then I'm building, now look at this. These are all the helper methods. Response entity represents your HTTP response packet. So I'm setting the status of internal server error because I don't know exactly what went wrong. And here I'm sending the body the entire response code. So take a look at it and tell me, clear or not clear? This part. We're going to test it in a minute. Somewhat clear, 2-3% clear at least. So before I take you to this validation related error, let's test this method first. Okay, so how we are going to test? Let's check it out. Open this employee controller. Open the employee controller, please. And here, let me see this. I've got a method somewhere, get employee details or something. Yeah. So look at, open this we had done yesterday. The last part I know a little tricky, but you'll get it in 10 minutes time or 5 minutes time, whatever. So look at this. So which is the endpoint? Our endpoint is this is all URL I've said, /API/employees. And you tell me, if I give invalid employee, I'm so sorry, invalid employee ID, what will happen? In the current case, if I give the invalid employee ID, exception or no exception? Simple question, simple answer. Exception. Which exception you will get, guys? You remember your Spring Data JPA? It will throw you an sorry. Okay, why don't you press it instead of I telling you? Anyone wants to tell me which exception? Resource not found exception. So confirm. Employee controller calls the service layer method, goes the control to employee service implementation, look for the method. Where is that? Get, no, not get all employees. Where is my method? I forgot. Just check which is the method I'm calling. Fetch employee details. I was looking for get. So fetch employee details and look at this. And do you agree with who answered it? Girish. Girish answered it as resource not found. Agreeing with him or not? Which exception this method will throw is the question. Agreeing, everyone? Great. So the control comes here. And now tell me, is this exception getting handled by that global exception handler, or are we doing the method level handling? Method level handling or global exception handler? This is all said in core Java method level. Okay. So I'm not giving a chance for my global exception handler. If you are coding along with me, comment this out. Yesterday, I did not have time to show you the centralized exception handling. So we were adding a try-catch block everywhere. Everywhere means wherever required. You got this? So you have it. Now, which is the exception which is fired is resource not found exception. Now tell me the same answer again. Who is going to handle that exception? Method level or global exception handler? So it should be, if all goes well, if your annotations and all are fine, the exception handling will be intercepted by this controller advice class. And have we mapped any resource not found exception? No. But what is the super class of resource not found exception? Checked or unchecked? It is a runtime exception. So can it handle it? Yes. Let's see. Let me not say anything and we'll check what happens. Okay. So now run the application again. I have not yet taken you to validations. That will be the step 2. First, let me explain the whole mechanism. So let me just run this Spring Boot application again. And here, let us talk about it. Let's see something. Okay, I'll just use this. So HTTP localhost API employees / if I give the correct one, let's start with the correct node. So I've got these IDs. So let's say 2. And here I'm getting all the employee details, all good. But if I say, suppose here, you observe and conclude. So I have, you take time because I'm going to ask you the questions. So are we sending back the entire stack trace to the client? It's a Boolean question. Answer is no. You can see that. Okay. Next question. Who is doing the exception handling? The default exception handler, Spring supplied, or our own handler, customized error handler or global error handler, whatever you can say. Customized global error handler. And do you guys mute yourself, please? It disturbs me a lot when I'm in the middle of statement. Don't unmute yourself unless until you have a question. Okay, so here, can you see? Here, Rishikesh, I guess. I don't know why you unmute yourself at all. Anyway, so this is what? This is a JSON object, but does it correspond to something else? Which is the Java object corresponding to this? Anyone and everyone can understand. That's your DTO. Are you understanding the DTO pattern? DTO stands for what? data transfer object. This is how you are exchanging the information between a front end and a back end. And what you are looking at is just a JSON representation of your DTO. And here that message, whatever you had written, and it is quite clear to everyone that the error message and the timestamp is being shared. Clear completely how the, and you can see, you see the server side console, guys. So check it out. It tells you so clearly. I'll take this and show you. Some Rishikesh, I don't know, there are a couple of Rishikesh, I guess. One Rishikesh is unmuted. Please mute yourself, Rishikesh, disturbing. So here, see this, in handled runtime exception, whatever. So that error message is coming, that I had put it as a debugging this. And here, exception handler is exception resolved. So here, which exception? We are not using the default exception handler resolver anymore. We are handling it in our own manner. Is it a proof of concept? Is it reaching you? How we simply overrode the default exception handling mechanism by our customized one. But if you do the other thing, see this? Actually, anyway, we'll do this. So it's always interesting to play with the code. So here, post. Okay, I'm saying post now and empty body, saying send. Observe and conclude and explain the output to me. See, this is a slightly tricky subject, so I hope I'm going sufficient slow. I said this is all has to be added in your backend project. Tell me. I gave the, I'm trying to access, create a new employee with empty body. So tell me, validation succeeded or failed? It's a validation failure. Which are the annotations we used for that? For validations, @ not null, not blank, email, etc. plus @valid. Everyone got me? So here we are properly getting that 400 bad request. But are you seeing now the exception stack trace or not? You are definitely not getting that exception stack trace. This is simple observations. So my next question is, who is handling this method argument not valid exception? Your choices are default exception handler, Spring supplied, or our own global handler. Global exception handler. Are you getting it? That is why, I don't take generally the first one. And guys, I was wanting to test something, one of this. So what is it we had done to achieve all that? We just extended from the class which has already supplied these methods. But the last and most important question is, did we get any error message details that this field has failed, this validation is wrong, or did we get an empty message? Message or no message? Answer is no message. Tell me why. Obvious question. What is the thing is, I have not added anything on my own. I'm just returning whatever my superclass is doing. You understand me? So I don't want that. What I want is, okay, so name cannot be blank, first name cannot be blank, or last name cannot be blank, etc., etc. So I want to send all these validation messages to the front end. Is it accepted? Is the requirement clear? Okay, so now would you like to do it in a superclass? I mean, see, when you override, you want to modify the existing behavior, inherited behavior. So here we start the customizing the behavior. Understood this? So we are ultimately going to create this error response, but not so fast. Okay, so here requirement is, I'll write the objective or the goal. What is the goal? Send detailed error messages regarding validation failures. Sorry. Is the requirement at least clear what we want? What is the kind of output I want? I want to tell the front end So that, you know, when you connect it to your React, actually, you can give the alerts that these are the things which are missing and a client can correct it. So this is what we want. So there are ways, little bit tricky API. So be mentally prepared. So here, when you say method argument not valid exception, it has lot of methods. So here, as usual, I'll write it and then I will explain. So here there is a, is there a this? Yeah. So there is a method called as get binding result. I'll give everything in comment, but in a minute. So you can just keep a cursor here and it will say return the binding result, means whatever are the errors in binding the properties, whatever your front end has given to Pojo properties, whatever binding failures is all here. Now there is a method here, get field errors. There is an error, there is somewhere errors. So here, what is it? Just take the cursor here and what is it giving you? List of field related errors. So anyone wants to tell me which fields they are talking about? Because otherwise you'll be like lost Greek and Latin types. What is happening? Nobody knows. Pojo properties, exactly. So these are the fields from the Pojo properties. And see this, guys, it is what? A list. Can I attach a for each to it? Our higher order function? Yes, of course. List is a table. So for each this field error, now I want to extract the message. Okay. So if you say, if you say field error dot get, there is something called as get default message. You remember the JSON object I had shown you, it had the property default message. So that is the only thing I'm calling. So see what I'm doing, go from left to right. So I got a exception. Which exception? Method argument not valid. On that, I'm getting a binding result which holds the result of binding between the front-end data and Pojo properties. Then I'm finding, are there any field-specific errors, Pojo property-specific errors? If yes, attaching the iterator and getting the default message. So of course, we are not done here. I mean, we'll be done here in a minute. So did you understand what I did? Getting, so what it will return? Suppose there are 10 errors. All these errors I'm trying to access. But guys, the whole idea is to send this together to what? To the front end. So tell me, if I want to put it in a string, is string immutable object or a mutable object? Good old core Java question. Immutable. Is there any mutable character sequence you have heard of? I want to make it growable. Of course, string builder. Never use string buffer. So here, see this. It's never only about advanced Java, you know that. So I'm saying string builder SB is equal to new string builder. And let's start with the default this, that validation error messages. So, you know, the user will know what is following and all that. So I'm not sure. Okay, I was going to say \n, but I don't know whether if this will appear or not. And can I keep appending to the same string builder? Of course, yes. So here, sb dot append. Just a second. And here I'm appending the, field specific error message. Okay, I'll just say return null to satisfy the compiler. Of course, we are not returning null here. Oh, my Spring Boot app is open. I mean running, so I just stopped it. So if I say SOP SB, what will you see? What do you expect to see? I'm just checking how much you are understanding, because it is a little advanced API, involved API. What do you expect to see in the string builder? Quickly. When I say this, what do you expect to see in the string builder? Not a difficult question. Exactly. All the error messages. So guys, I'm not 100% sure whether this separator will work. You can always add. Okay. So here I'll say If you want to add it on new lines or something, I've added this. Just for formatting, nothing else. Now, anyone wants to tell, this was only for debugging. So as you said, error messages. But here, I don't want to send this string builder. I want to wrap it in a response entity. But that response entity should have the error response. So let us create the error response all over. You can do it in much lesser code. But first time I'm showing you, so I'm writing it in elaborate manner. You can reduce it later. New error response. And what is the error message here? That error message is already there in toString builder. So toString, just converting the string builder to toString. And here, the second one is whatever, the timestamp. And as before, this line is the same. Oh, this time I'll not add the error. Just a second, we'll change this. But here, if it is a handle method argument not valid, you just tell me one thing. Is this a correct error code or should it be something else? This will be error 500. Is this a server-side error or is it a client-side error? Of course, it is a client-side error. And which error? Bad request. So guys, I hope you got me. Total control you have. So you can say bad request, which is having a error code of 400. And here, oh, I will have the error response and trying to give complete information to the caller. So let me send you all of this and we'll test it together. Is this the one we are having? DTO? Oh no, not DTO. I wanted to give you the exception handler, global exception handler. By the way, if you have a custom exception such as resource not found, and if you want to give it as a 404, just add one more exception handler and be done with it. Let's test it one by one. So let this first check. We'll check what is happening. And then if you want, I can always recap the whole code. So let me run this. Just check whether it is up and running properly. Looks fine. And give this, come here. And here, okay, I thought so. See, it's a JSON, so it is not understanding \n. You can, so I can have the messages added. I'm just thinking, is there any easy way? Anyway, let's not worry about formatting first. Tell me, are you getting any error messages or not really? You can see it easily. So validation error messages are last name cannot be blank. I'll take it. In this. Okay, so just check it out. So it has got all these error messages. Last name cannot be blank. First name cannot be blank. Location must be supplied. Salary less than minimum salary, etc. So tell me guys, is it working for you? Is it working? Fine. So this is how we elaborate, we specify the error messages. I'm just thinking, is there any other way I can have it as the, you know what we can do is, but that is too much time spending. I was thinking, see, on the console, it comes proper because it is doing system.out, but JSON, I can't have the new line. So you can have this converted into an array, JSON array. But then you know what I will have to do is here, this property, I'll have to convert it into string array messages. So that is a homework. Homework means lab work. We'll do it together. You can add the property as string array messages. And where is my exception handler? So instead of giving this new line, so remove this \n. Anyway, it is not working. So remove this. You can just add a space or something. So here you can add this, you can replace it. And once you have this each error, you can just keep on adding it to that array or list you can have. So you will see it properly in a better formatted manner in the front end. But like I said, that is not a very compulsory thing. As long as you are getting the error messages, it is fine. So let's recap quickly with your interaction and I'll go ahead. So tell me, what is it we are doing? Centralized exception handling. So start answering. Which is the class level annotation you have to add to tell the Spring container that this is your common advice? Answer is right in front of you, @controller advice. And if you don't extend from response entity exception handler, every method you will have to annotate with @exception handler. But why we extend from here? Because this class is a, see the words, convenient base class, which has already supplied so many methods. So keep it light and simple. So you just understand it and you can pick up my global exception handler and add it in your projects. That can be a template. But anyone can answer you. So I'm spending so much time in explaining the point. Okay. So then if you want to handle the validation related errors, override the method, handle method not valid, method argument not valid. And here from that exception, get the result of binding between the incoming payload and POJO properties, get the list of field errors and keep on adding those messages to a list. Here I've added a string builder. You can replace it by list. Okay, list of messages. And with those messages, build an error response code and send the response status entity to the caller to achieve the desired effect. Okay, so now let's test it more. So here, I'll just go to that get. Not this. I just wanted, no, I don't have it anything. Anyway, this is something else. Oh, I was, what I wanted was, now I don't want to give totally blank things. I want to give something. So you can also do, I was avoiding this, name something. I'll not give the last name. You're just checking the whole thing, nothing else. I'm just testing whether it is also understanding certain fields. So name I have given, last name I have not given, and the department I'll mention. Which is the name of the JSON property here? Department. All I'm adding is the JSON payload. And let's see. And here I'll give some salary. Salary is salary, I guess. I do not change the rest. Okay. So salary. And here I'm giving some values less than this. So let's say 1000. Just checking. By the way, I've forgotten. I realized on salary. See, I have given only two two annotations, two validations, minimum and max value. But salary field, if you want to supply, it has to be not null. So please add the not null constraint. Don't take it from com.send.istack or something weird. Take it from java.validation. So it should be not null. So that, and you can have a message here. Salary value must be supplied. I had forgotten that. Message. Salary. So I just saved it. And now let's come to the front end. You do spend time, at least half an hour or something, in going through validation and exception handling. Very important in developing backend. So now tell me, obvious question, obvious answer. When I say here send, is the record going to get inserted in the database or validation failure? Insertion or failure? Validation failure. Is it going to be handled by Spring supplied exception handler or global, our custom exception handler, as in global exception handler? And which method will do the job? You have two methods in that global exception handler. So is it going to be the first one or is it going to be the second one? First or second? Answer is first one, because that is the closest match. Are you getting? So here is the clue, guys. First, see what exception is there. Check if there are any base class methods inherited from that response entity exception handler and simply override. So what I was not sure I wanted to test was here. You don't have to add any exception handler annotation because it is an overriding form of the method. Anyway, So please test it out and you should see like before, add request. And as you can see, but that other error is not there. The last name I had not supplied, right? Was it required? Last name? I think last name was also required. So we'll have to check in more detail. Like, so let's see this. Last name, invalid last name. Last name cannot be blank. Yeah, I had given some, it's there. I missed it, looks like. Sometimes, in a hurry. Yeah, it is there. No, I thought, my validation logic is failing. My reading skills were failing. So validation error messages, location must be supplied. Salary is less than minimum salary and last name cannot be blank. In short, it's all working fine and at whatever timestamp. So tell me, I'll share this code. Yeah, it is working. I just did not read it properly. So I'll share this code. You take a look at it if you want. So whatever you had not done in case in between, you can sync up. And I'm going to give you a one small requirement in the next 2-3 minutes. First, take this. If you have already got it on, if you have been writing parallelly, ignore what I'm sharing. I'm sending you the full zip, not just one this. Oh, I sent you something wrong. Sorry. T20 employee backend. Ignore the earlier one. That was a full-fledged web application. This is what I wanted to share. This one, if you want, you take D20 employee backend. Okay. So now, here is your question. So currently, if I give I'll give you the question and you will solve it with me. With me means next in 2-3 minutes, you will do it. Otherwise, I'll of course join. So here, take a look at it. Here, if I use this API /API/employee/ whatever, and if I give the invalid ID and send it, I'm getting, see the response I'm getting, 500 internal server error. Okay, something went wrong. And here, understood what I'm saying? If I give the invalid ID, I'm getting a generic error response 500. So what I want is, here is the question. If the resource is not found in case of invalid ID, I want to properly see. What I want to properly see, of course, what should be the status code, which is better, which is fitting status code? 404, resource not found, right? So I want 404 and I don't want this something went wrong at all. I want a proper message, employee not found, or I'm okay with this message. You understood what I want? I don't want this generic error code. I want a specific error code and a specific error message. Do this. Do it in next 2 minutes. If you have understood it, it won't take you more than 5 minutes. I want this change. I want a better message. This is like a generic message. I don't want that. You let me know whenever you are done and we'll discuss. Done? Very good, Yogesh. I'll just wait for another couple of minutes and then I'll ask you how you have done it. I hope you have tested. Have you tested it also, Yogesh? Okay, great. So one more thing for you, Yogesh, since you finished it really quick. So now, just a second. By controller. I'm just thinking, what to give you as a next best task. So get all employees by salary. Okay. Okay, Yogesh, here's the next question for you. Look at our last endpoint and here find employees by salary. Go to this method and in this method, this will take you to the service. So go to the service implementation class naturally. And here throw the dummy exception, throw new runtime exception and the message can be dummy exception. And then you tell me which is the error code you are getting. In short, I want to see whether you have done the things in a correct manner or not. Others did not get confused. Focus on your task. You let me know when more, at least 4, 5, 6, at least 10 of you should say that done. And then I will discuss the solution. I'm just waiting for another 1 or 2 minutes. So in that case, I should not see 404. That's the catch, Yogesh. Then I should see a generic server side failure, internal server error. So I think I've given you all clue. Yeah, definitely try, Yogesh. Yes, guys, I'm waiting for another minute or so, and then otherwise we'll start writing. And then I'll take you to the next part. Done? Very good, Srinivas. I hope. I'll tell you all. Srinivas, for example, you have said, so I'll say this. If it is a resource not found exception, I want to see what error code I want to see, 404. But if it is a not method argument, in short, if it is not a constraint violation exception, neither constraint violation nor resource not found, I should see the 500 error code. So whatever solution you have written, is it compliant with that? Is it going to work with that? Mohammed and Srinivas, because 2 of you are saying you have done it. So I'm talking to both of you. If you are not sure, try it out. Throw the exception and check whether your code is proper or not. Anyway, I'll be joining. Okay, guys, I think let us start you on this. So tell me, requirement is in case of ID wrong, resource not found, I should see 404. So anyone wants to tell me, let's close everything and tell me, where should I make the change? So I'll ask you a basic question. Do you want to go to employee controller and what? And uncomment this try catch block? Because I don't know how you have done it. Are you going to uncomment this try catch block in the employee controller? Where are others? 100% no. I don't want to shift away. I don't want to shift ever from that common error handling approach. So this is out of question. Now, so can you tell me which is the class you will modify? Obviously, which is the class where you'll have to make the changes? Our global exception handler. What else? Nothing else, right? So let me open, where is it? Here, global exception handler. Now tell me, are you going to modify this method or are you going to add a new exception handling method? New or modified? Answer is new. So I don't know, Yogesh, or I think Yogesh, yeah, whether you added that. So guys, one I want it is like you remember our catch-all, try and catch-all. So catch-all we used to add what? Exception E, but here Spring and Hibernate do not give you any checked exception. So this is like your catch-all block. So here I'm saying this is equivalent to catch-all runtime exception. So don't modify. So what is it you are going to add? Add new exception handler method to catch, tell me, a specific exception or any exception? Specific or any? A specific one. And which is the specific one we are interested in? To catch specifically. Yes, please. Which exception? Which exception I'm interested in? My custom exception. And which was that? Resource. So our custom exception, which is nothing but resource not found exception. Okay. So now this was my chance. This was generally I get it done in labs, but we don't know about it. So let's add it. So first question is how to add. Okay, let me ask you a simple question just to check your understanding. This is our base class. This is our super class. So do you think, apply your common sense, do you think like how it has given me handle method argument not valid, do you think it will have handle resource not found method? Do you think you'll have a corresponding method in the superclass? Of course not. Guys, our resource not found is our own exception. So that is out of question. So that overriding is out. So I want to add my own new exception handler method. So which is the method level annotation for that? @exception handler. Next question. What is the argument of this exception handler method? The class whose exception instance you want to handle. So can you tell me what should be the argument here, guys? Tell me the argument. Exactly. So here, resource not found. See, you are already learning fast. Only thing is, guys, please practice. Otherwise, you'll understand it today, but forget tomorrow. So dot class, done. Now, here, what is it I want to return? I can always return void or null, but that will send empty response. So standard technique is you can say response entity object. I like generics, prefer generics. And now learn the naming pattern. So handle which exception? Resource not found exception. Can I write it with a different method name? Any method name. But if you want to stick to the norms, you want to make your code professional, use this. Anyone, what is the argument you can pass? You can pass, by the way, these HTTP headers, status, web request, anything. But which is the minimum one I'll pass here? Exception object. In the catch-all block, what was the argument of catch-all? Exception E. Exactly the same. So here is your, resource not found exception E. I hope you are understanding it in the same manner. This is nothing but your catch clause. What else? Only thing is a global catch clause, centralized catch clause. So just stress it till the time in handle something resource not found. And I think now anyone can tell me, anyone and everyone will be able to tell me. So here, start. I'll do it in one line. So return response entity. Remove the generics, use the static method, status. So which status this time? What is the status code we decided? Not found, of course. So which is what? HTTP status. It's a enum. Yesterday I showed you. Dot not found, which is 404. And which is the body? You can always add, you can skip the body. You will say, okay, resource not found, story over. You figure it out types. But if you want to help, I can always add a body content. And that body content, we have created a special DTO only to send an error response, right? So why don't you create it right here? And error response. This my Lombok is working, so I can use it. I don't know why in some cases it's not working. show me in the lab in case it is still not working. And here I'll say e dot get message. So I'll get a message and I can add the timestamp. Local. I can reduce this also later. Local date time dot now. What I said is I can remove this. Shall I remove it? Okay, forget removal first. Did you understand this? Everyone completely? This is what I meant. So I never meant of changing this catch-all type of a block. If in your project, I don't know your project, whatever requirements, but if you want to handle a particular exception, so I have already given you validation related exceptions, all done. But if others, for example, custom exceptions or catch-all type, this is what my effort was. This is what our requirement was. Something else I wanted to say. Yeah, it is too much. I realized it over time. Every time I do this. So let's change slightly. A small trick. So where are we? I'm going to that DTO. I hate writing this. So here itself, let's have local date time dot now. So, I can drop one argument. Can I? But that message, there is a one thing. There's something called as required arguments, but I'm not. I have to skip that. So I'll just instead do a shortcut here. So I all I'm avoiding is your avoiding what? The repetitive code. So I've just given this, and now we'll use the modified our own control. This not in here. So that I'm making your code reduce, not increase. So remove it from all over the place. So that, I realized over time you'll hate this repeating all the things. So I'm just using the one argument constructor just as a optimization. Anyway, I can hide it in the constructor. I think I've done it correctly. Let's test. So let's run this. This is like optional. If you want, you do it. Otherwise, you can skip. So I can see. Check the console as always. It should be error free. So I'm clearing the console because I want to see whether any exceptions and all. And then I'm sending it here. And as you can see, people have tested it also. I'm customizing the error code 404 and I'm customizing the message employee ID not found and the timestamp. Understanding something or still feeling lost? Understood something like 20%, 30%, 10 to 30%, I mean, the whole concept, and use it in your 10% is good. Okay, no, I'm saying in 100 scale is 1 to 100. So start working on it, look at it, revise it thoroughly, and definitely the understanding will increase. The last one, and we are going ahead. You can see all these things. So open, as I was talking to this one, I guess, Yogesh, I guess. So open your service layer. I just want to check something. So open the employee service implementation. And here, when you have this find employees by salary, I'm just using some. And here, throw dummy exception to test global exception handler. Before that, I'll not take you to the next topic. So here I'm saying throw new runtime exception. This is not a real exception. This is only a test case I'm writing for checking whether my global exception handler is managing the remaining exceptions correctly. Some dummy exception. Okay. So this, this is unreachable code. Guys, if I throw the exception, how can the control go there? So I can just fool the compiler. They're still giving me a warning. Going more. Let's not write a dirty code, even though it is a test code. So just say if flag. So if the flag is true, which I am enabling it to true, so the moment your controller is going to call this method, is it going to return the list of employees by the criteria, or is it going to throw the exception? Simple question, simple answer. I'm forcing this to check over this. Of course, it is going to throw the runtime exception. So let us this endpoint and check. So I'll ask you ahead of time question. We are going to run this in a minute. And what do you expect to see on the this side? I have three options. Status code 404, 400 or 500. Answer is 500. You understand that? So if that works, then that means that catch-all type of a catch-all runtime exceptions is working fine. Not need anytime you want to add more exception handling methods, you can add. So I'll have to go for that endpoint. So what is that endpoint? Find get all employee salary / minimum salary. Okay. So employees / salary / minimum salary something. And I'll just check whether my backend is running or not. Shut down. Okay, so run this. So run this and check. Let it start correctly. So this all looks correct. Clear the console and do the testing. And as you can see, which is the okay, same question. Default exception handler or global? Okay, customize means programmer supplied. Default means Spring supplied. So which exception handler is being used? Global, our own. And which is that error handling method which is responding to it? Is it that handled method argument not valid? Is it handled resource not found exception or handled runtime exception? 1, 2, 3 options. Which one? The last option. And in that, it's like a catch-all. You know, in the core Java, what we do, catch, let's say IO exception, catch socket exception, and finally we write catch-all, catch any exception, exactly like this. But without any catch keywords, you can see where it is getting handled. And here, as you can see, this is the method which is generating the response. So after you understand it perfectly, just copy my global exception handler in your project, and whichever are your business specific exceptions which you want to alert in a particular manner, only override those methods. I mean, not only write those methods, otherwise rest of it will work. Making sense? So 2 topics I handled: validation and exception handling, and that form binding. So forget form binding, validation and error handling. Not fully clear, but somewhat percentage. Is it clear? You will practice it a lot in the lab. I'll give you some requirements. Now, I'm giving you a break, but before break, I will tell you what is it we are going to achieve. So what we are planning to achieve is close to microservices architecture. Am I showing you the microservices architecture? Not really, because it involves much more, but I'm taking you very close to it. So I'll just explain what we are going to attempt, and then of course give a break and come back and finish it. So listen to this carefully. Everything, this is a, I mean, whatever, earlier some requirement. So I'll tell you, this is your React frontend. But in React frontend, I have not modified all of this. It is only employee CRUD. So I will replace it by our Postman client. Okay. So currently think of it as a frontend. Let it be Postman, let it be React. I don't care. And we have built since yesterday, or I guess day before, employee management backend, employee CRUD, using which layers? Forget bank account. You don't know what that bank account is. So employee controller, you have a employee service, you have Spring Data JPA based DAO layer, entities, values, and then we talked about ETOs and all that. So this is the backend app. So let me ask you a question. So if you talk between this front end and a back end, can you tell me which is the REST client between these two and which is the REST server? Who is the REST client and who is the REST server? C for client, S for server. Tell me. You understood the question or not? Because I did not get any response. You are typing, I hope. I just got one response. I want to see more. Guys, it's an easy question. Between these two layers, which is the REST client and which is the REST server? Who is the consumer and who is the provider of the APIs? Is it such a difficult question? The front end is 100% the REST client. It is going to consume the APIs, right? It is going to invoke. And who is the provider? The REST server, the backend. Understood so far? Yes or no? What I'll do is, this keeps disappearing. So just give me a minute. I will, because I'm going to extend it 2 seconds. I'll open it in the pen. And I'll send you this right now. Okay, so this is done. Now, what I want to add is, this is a regular employee working in some organization. Fine, great, good. But employee gets his salary at the end of the month or whatever your payment cycle is. Generally, in our case, it is month. So here, you have a salary account. Everyone knows. So salary gets deposited in your bank account. So understand the point. What I want to do is, I as a user, end user, I want to log in. I want to do the net banking login. Okay. So I want to log in. This is all dummy. Dummy means I'm not actually calling some APIs. How can the HDFC bank give me that? Anyway, so the point is, listen to this. So here, I want to give my customer ID, net banking I'm saying guys, customer ID and PIN. And what I want to see is, so who is going to be the customer of the bank? This particular employee who he or she having the bank account. So you know, one employee or one customer, can it have only one bank account or multiple? One to one or one to many? This is all exhaustive, this, of course, multiple. So what I want to do is authentication. I'm not entering Spring security yet. That's the next topic after AOP. So coming back to the point, what will be the credentials? These credentials will be sent currently from Postman client using post, because I want to securely send it in the request body. And now the golden question, important question. Do you think, or okay, I'll ask you a simple question. Where will be the banking database? Do you think the banking database will be on this employee management REST server? It's a Boolean question, yes or no? Will you have the banking database on employee CRUD? Of course not. What will this database have? Employee management system. So you remember 2 days before I was showing you, when we entered REST services, we were talking about flight scheduling app contacting weather service. So tell me, who has to call whose APIs to get the what is it called, banking details? You will have another. So this is basically a microservice architecture, guys. But I'm not showing you full-fledged because it requires load balancer, circuit breaker, lot of things. So this is your one web application, one backend calling the method of another API provider. So I'm calling it as, not calling it anything. Okay, net banking. Let me call it as net banking. So please tell me, between employee management, okay, before that, employee management is what? Is it a Spring Web MVC application having a view layer, or is it a resting endpoint? It's a resting endpoint, REST controller. Here, net banking again has a REST controller. Understanding me? You are going to think in this 10 minutes break. Okay. So now if I ask you between these two, employee management and net banking, who will you call it as a client and who will you call it as a server? Server? Yes. So employee management system, this is nothing but a client. It's a REST client. See the guys, the terms are so relative. This fellow was a REST server. as far as your front end was concerned. Now, everything you are not going to write one backend. This is the microservices architecture. One service calling another services from another backend. So here we will make a call. What will be this call? Nothing but a REST API call. So as far as we are concerned, this is the REST client and this is the REST server. So if you see the database and all that, this will have the database for net banking. This will have the database of employees. Understood me? So it will have which tables? It will have a customer table, bank customer table. And if one customer have multiple accounts, would you like to store the details in the customer table or a separate account table? Separate account table. What will be the relationship between a bank customer and a bank account? One to many, many to many, many to one, or one to one? It will be, yes, please, one to many. But if I say, I told this all, guys, this is all last 1 or 2 days. So this is all a recap of what you already know. So should you ever configure unidirectional one-to-many association between the entities? Answer is no. 100% hampers the performance. So I have two choices. Rather, you have two choices in your project. Either create a bidirectional one-to-many association. Means what? From customer, I can access account details. From account, I can access the customer details. Understood me? Yes or no? So that was, we had done it in course and a student, I guess, in that earlier student management portal kind of thing. Anyway, so, but bidirectional means, okay, forget this. I'll ask you a better question. Configuring bidirectional is easier or configuring unidirectional is easier? Bi or unidirectional. So I'm asking you, unidirectional one-to-many would you go for, or unidirectional many-to-one you will go for? Which is more optimized? Many-to-one. But in which case, this is all your Hibernate knowledge I'm testing. In which case, adding the bidirectional one-to-many is helpful. There is a use case I had discussed. Cascading. Very good, guys. I'm so happy to see you remembering things. If you say, when you are registering a customer, at that time, registering the customer in the bank, I mean, adding the customer details, if you want to cascade it, if you want to create, suppose 10 accounts for that customer, then cascading, and then cascading is required, then bidirectional association makes sense. But here, we are not going about that. So what I have shown you, I mean, I'm going to give you ready-made code, impossible to fit otherwise. So I'll show you many-to-one unidirectional association from bank account to customer. You got me? So where will be those tables? Customer table and accounts table in the employee management system or net banking? EMS or net banking? Everyone knows net banking. And from the client, Postman client, we will send a post request. What will be the payload here? What will be the payload? Customer ID and PIN. Okay, we will add another, what is it called? Another endpoint. Okay, we'll write a bank account controller. See this. It will be a bank account client controller. Actual net banking controller is here. Its client is here. Okay, and now in this bank account client controller, which is a net, I can call it, rephrase it as net banking client controller for your understanding. Here, will you have a bank account DAO here to inject into the service and the this controller? Will you have? Simple question. Bank account repository? Of course not. Everything is here. So this is where I finally come to the point. There is a very good class. There is a beautiful class, ready-made implementation of REST client. And that is nothing but REST template. So they have mentioned it in one bullet. If you see your contents, find out, I mean, use REST template. So we are going to set up a full-fledged demo, which will give you some idea about microservices architecture, which is not, this is not full-fledged microservices, but this gets you some idea. One service calling another service. So we'll see how to build it. There's a builder pattern and all. And who will call whom? So here, this REST client will make a REST API call So this was done for some other requirement where full CRUD had written. So here there's no need. So we will just do the net banking login. What will be the details? What will be here in the request payload? What will this, what is it called? EMS, Employee Management send, customer ID and PIN. We will create a DTO for this login request DTO, data transfer object. And anyone wants to tell me, in case of a failure, some exception or some error message. Now you know error response and all that. And in case of a success, what is it? I would send the customer details, plus I want to send the associated account details also. So this DTO will build a DTO for something like, banking login response or something. And then we will send it all the way back to the postman. So what is the highlight of the whole discussion? Using REST template and making a call from one API or one endpoint, one service to another service. What is the framework we use in React for making the REST API calls? Which is the framework we have been using all this, or you have learned earlier? Axios. Everyone knows this. We create an Axios instance and simply call put or get or post or delete methods. Soon means after the break, after 10 minutes, I'll show you REST template API. First, I'll give you the backend code. We will have the REST template API making the call to the backend, and you will have, you will have an idea about, again, the distributed application. Got some idea what we are going to do next? Got it? So it is, of course, advanced thing. Last few days, it is all advanced. Okay. So let us get into it after 10 minutes break. See you in 10. Guys, I was just waiting for the ma'am to unmute me. Little patience. Yeah. So now am I audible? Okay, fine. So now I'll give you instructions. We are going to, like I discussed just before the break, this backend I'm giving you, not all, just net banking login in a ready-made manner, but follow the instructions so that you will not, otherwise it is of a different version. Again, the downloading dependencies and all will start. So anyway, let me help you just a minute. So here, 19 help. Ready code. 2 minutes. I'll just change the pom.xml. Otherwise, what will happen, it is a earlier version than the current one. So again, it will start downloading your dependencies, and you will be wasting so much time. 2 seconds. So I'll just check which is the current version, 2.6.3. Okay, so I'm giving the same thing. And all other dependencies are already there. Okay, so the instruction is here. I'll give you a zip of this. You just extract it, and what is it? You just import it as an existing Maven project. So what is it? Not here. Java help. Ready code. Net banking. Yeah. So first download net banking REST server. Okay. So have you done this? Have you extracted this? Have you got this zip file and extracted? Import it as, I'm also doing it with you. So I'm importing it as, okay, what I'll do is, how I do it generally, I'm copying that into my usual what workspace, net banking REST server. This is my workspace. So I copied it here, and then I'm importing it as existing project. I'll take 5-10 minutes to explain what I've shared. So file, import, existing Maven project, browse. Oh, this went to some other folder. CSD, Java EE. You know how to import, so like, and do this and say finish. So I hope it did not start in downloading of any dependencies. Did it? I've made the same version. That is the reason. If it had gone to that 2.5 point whatever, it would have again started downloading. Okay. So the next instruction. This, once you see this imported available, edit the application property file as per your own requirements. Okay. So here, go open application property file. Change this to whatever is our name, database name, and username and password. You let me know whenever you have done it. So I'll give the next instruction. And after those instructions are done, then only we are going to like test it or explain it. You have done this. Okay. So please check line number 6. This was, I was using some of my other database name. Has everyone changed it to the database name? Wait a second, wait a second. I'm coming there. I'm talking about database properties. Has everyone changed the database name to DAC22 and username and password? Great. Now look at this picture and tell me, when we set up this demo, how many servers, how many REST servers will be running in your machine? 2. So can you start to, they will be deployed on 2 different Tomcat instances, Tomcat container. So can you run the 2 Tomcat services on the same port number or different? Of course, different. So that is the understanding, guys. So which is going to be my front end as far as this employee management system? So where is this? Day 20 employee backend. So the names are a little confusing. So here I'll make a copy, net banking REST client in a minute, so that you also do it. So there's no confusion. So I'm making, otherwise you'll not know which backend, which front end I'm talking about. So Control C, Control V. Let me call it as net banking REST client. The whole idea is to show you REST templates and give you little trailer. Trailer means little, just a glance, a look at how that microservices architecture actually works. So I just made a copy. So now I have REST client, REST server. So you can identify this itself is nothing but an employee management system, which is going to act as a backend for our React front end. So it's a layered architecture completely. And changing the pom.xml. If you don't want to change it, it is absolutely fine. So net banking REST client. Banking REST client. I should have day something. I'm doing. Sorry. Okay. And Spring Boot project as backend for employee management and the client for and REST client for banking or net banking. This is the description of the project. Okay, so this is a Spring Boot project which acting as a backend for employee management and REST client for net banking. Looks fine. So coming to the point here, please check, otherwise you will have a port clash issues. Here, tell me, where is your net banking REST client is equal to employee management system, which is the port number. You check. I know my port number. If I commented which is a default port number, in my case it is 8080. In your case, if you have disabled it, it is 9090. And the REST server, the net banking server, of course, has to be configured on the different port. Understood it completely? So there are, if you count, actually there are 3 apps. React frontend running on 3000 can be replaced by Postman. The middle tier is your employee management app, which is a REST backend running on whatever 80, 80, 90, 90, and the net banking app running on 70, 70. Port number related, all clear? No issues? Okay. So now say Control Shift W, and whenever you make a change, I'll just force update it. Both the projects I'll say Maven update, so that you know there are no ambiguities. So please force update. If you have made a copy, update this so it is building and all that. And I'll also force update our net banking REST server. You also do this. This you also do, please. This is all the preparation phase. Not yet explained anything. Okay, so now I'm going to explain entire thing in the top-down manner, because this I'm giving you as a ready-made code. Okay, so open. This is all familiar. Nothing new for you. So which is the topmost layer? Controller. Okay, you will see here application.java, which launches the Spring Boot app, the annotation and all everything explained. So please open the controller, and this is having a bank controller. Everyone found it? Because I'm going to do it in a, what is it called? Systematic manner, top-down manner. Found it? Okay. Which is the endpoint where we are listening to it? /bank. And here, this is your sign-in. Okay, like authentication. Spring security, unfortunately, I'll have to start in the lab session. So guys, please don't miss out on the lab session. Last 2 days, so I'll have to take some of the things in the lab as well. First, I'll give you a revision time, everything as usual, but I'm going to take you ahead. So coming back to the point, so this is your sign in, and here instead of writing, your response body is not added, not required, implicitly added. Here same purpose, authenticate customer. And can you tell me what is the argument of this controller? Is it, you can see it is a request body, and guess smartly, what must be this login request? DTO or a POJO? I mean, DTO or entity. Okay, you are saying POJO. POJO means entity, guys. Mapping to the database, answer is no. My user entity or the customer entity is separate. So immediately, see, I'll tell you how to revise this, or rather how to understand the ready-made app. Simply say control click, and you will see here. Tell me, is it an entity which has a corresponding record in the, corresponding table in the database, or is it just a data transfer object? Everyone agrees? So that is why I'm saying. And what are the 2 things I'm taking from user is that REST client, which is customer ID and the PIN. You can say customer ID and the password. Got it? So that is it. Here, am I validating the login request? Have I added any rules here? At not blank, at not empty, currently not. That will be your homework. Okay, so I'll do something, you will do something. Always the pattern. So anyway, so I'm just accepting, I'm just blindly assuming people, the user will give me things properly. So this is only a tracer. Now go with me. So here I'm extracting from this request body customer ID and the password. And who is calling whose method? Controller, REST controller is calling the service layer method. Understood all of it? So let's open the service layer. So here, this is all standard. Earlier we were developing employee service, topic service, tutorial service. This is your customer service. Okay, so open my service layer, and the name of the service interface is I for interface, net banking service, customer ID and PIN as in password. And this is your implementation. You take a minute, I'll explain. If unfortunately you don't understand something, you have the initial 2 hours. I don't come and trouble you in the first 2 hours. This is your practice of looking at more code. I'll be sharing so many such projects with you to help you in project phase. Anyway, so what are the compulsory annotations? Add service at transactional, implementing service layer interface. Which are the two dependencies I'm injecting? One is customer repo and one is a bank account repo. This itself should tell you which are the two entities you are going to see in a couple of minutes time. Obvious answer, obvious question, obvious answer. Customer and a bank. Everyone understands it? Okay, now read it further. So here, see this. Is this a Hibernate JPA or Spring Data JPA? Which technology I've used? I want to use. Of course, all throughout now, Spring Data JPA. So I'll show, I don't have to show you actually. So here, when you say find by and all of this, tell me. Now, yesterday's question regarding Spring Data JPA. Do you think it is an inherited method or the finder method or the custom query methods? I think you already answered. This is the effect of revising day-wise. I'm so happy to see this. So you can say control click on this. And as of course your answer is right. Again, I'm telling you, project tip. It is not compulsory to wrap it in the optional. You can return the type as customer. But if you return it as customer, which checking is compulsory? In the service layer, null checking becomes compulsory. See guys, those who answer, I can talk to them. If you have a query, please ask or give me wrong answer. I'll look at your wrong answer and correct you. So my this thing suggestion is not is present. Our or else throw that kind. Anyway, so the moment you say find by, you know it is a finder method. So can you guess the properties you will expect to see in my customer Pojo? Name the properties you expect to see in my customer entity, customer Pojo. Of course, nothing but customer ID and the password. So that is coming from your REST client. We will write. I have not written the REST client. REST client we were writing together. That REST template is the new thing you are learning today. So calling that. So coming back to the net banking service implementation. So here, look at this carefully and tell me, in case of invalid credentials, invalid customer ID and PIN, customer ID and password, what will this method do? Return the login response or throw the exception? It will throw the exception. Which exception? Runtime exception. Okay, hold on. Can you see? I have not written this. Good, I have not written. So here, just let me check. Okay, this is my custom exception. So let me have a question. I've spent so much time with you since morning. So here in my layers, do you see any global exception handler? You don't. I'm saying because it was an earlier project, so I was not 100% sure. So tell me, who will handle this exception? Spring Supply default exception handler or programmer? I mean custom. Of course, default. So obviously, what is your job? See guys, I'm not giving you in writing, but there are so many things you can do. So you are supposed to write a global exception handler, controller advice, exception handler, etc. You understood what I said? Everyone can manage it? Okay, great. So next time. So when the control comes here, what does it mean? Of course, ID and password is fine. Credentials are fine. And what is it we are returning? Am I returning a customer entity and account? No. So click on it and you will get your answer. So tell me, what is it? An entity or a DTO? Guys, anywhere you see REST APIs, people use a DTO pattern a lot. So whole morning I just prepared you. Now I'm showing you some ready-made code. So what are the two details you are adding? And trust me on this, this is the recommended pattern. Never expose directly your entities and send it in the response entities. Rather, put it in a DTO, map those entities to DTO, take the data what you exactly want to send and send it across. So what are the two details we are having in this DTO? Customer name and the accounts belonging to the customer, because it is one to many. Got it so far? So come back here. So now here, so I have got a customer details here. So I got a customer.getName. I'll show you a Pojo in a minute. Now tell me, how about this? So hold on. What is the relationship you are going to see? Unidirectional or bidirectional? I already explained it before the 10-minute break. Which is the one which is easier, which I have configured? Unidirectional. So from customer to account or from account to customer? C to A or A to C? Account to customer. So if it was customer to account, it was easy. I could have just said customer.getAccounts. But now, again, the same question. So here I'm supplying the customer ID as the argument. And here tell me, what is it? Inherited method, finder method, or custom query method? You can see that easily. If you have not understood it, take it here and you can understand. So this is your bank account repository, guys, and follow the pattern. So look at this method and I'm going to ask you a question. So from account, can I find the customer details, account owner details? It's a Boolean question, yes or no? Yes. So can you guess, without opening my bank account Pojo, what would be the property name? Answer is right here. What must be my property name? Account. No. Wrong. Guys, account owner is the property name. See, you are navigating from bank account to customer. Okay. So here, what is it? Find by account owner. And I'll show you in a minute. Or okay, why don't we show you first? Control click on bank account, please. So here, you know everything. We are just putting it together in last few days, right? So what is the property you have? Account owner. If you open my bank customer, you can, customer, you will see. Take a look at it. Okay, by the way, this is a new annotation. You can take a look at it later. It's regular expression. Anyway, so the point I'm trying to make is, can I navigate, can I find from customer to accounts? You can see there is no property accounts, but can I access from bank account the customer? Yes, otherwise it would be unlinked kind. It is a unidirectional. What is the name of the property? Bank account owner. And here, why I wrote my own toString, because if I ask the Lombok framework to generate it, it will add all the fields including customer, which I did not want. Okay, so that was the thing. And fetch type, I've changed it to lazy. All these things I hope you remember. So coming back to this, tell me, I'll highlight. So when I say find by account owner, from where to where I have navigated? From the bank account to customer. And what must be the name of the ID property in my bank customer, in my customer class? That answer is customer ID. Okay, so I don't think here I've used extends from base entity. Okay, I've not done that. You can change it, but just to show you, this is that customer ID. Making sense? So tell me honestly, is this method clear? So in goes the customer ID, and what is it I'm returning? List of all the bank accounts. So what will be the corresponding JPQL for this? If there was no finder method, what this will result into? I'll talk in code. Select A from bank account A, where A dot account owner dot customer ID is equal to :ID. Understood completely? See, this is a practice of your JP and everything, and you will require tons of such examples in your project. Okay, so coming back to the point, where is my service, net banking service implementation? So tell me here, okay, so you remember that login response. Login response, I'm just concatenating, not concatenating, holding is a better word, the customer name and the list of accounts. And here, as you can see, we are returning, this service is returning this login response DTO to the caller, and that caller is nothing but a bank controller. And so this is what I'm returning, either an exception or this. And if all goes well, I'm sending the status code as OK, response entity.OK, and the body is nothing but the login response. Understood what I said? Understood the backend part? See, you won't understand it 100%. I know that, but I just got you started so that you can then understand writing the client part of it. So you can say Control-Shift-W, and we are definitely going to call these APIs the authentication, the bank login, net banking login from our employee management. But initially, we'll just check whether it is working at all. Let me see whether I've written any test cases. I've written some test cases. Okay. Oh, so this test case will for this. And you can look at it. I've given you so many things. Assert equals everything I've explained. You can definitely go through my down layer cases and this. So just a second. Great. Okay. So tell me something. Open, I'll tell you so that I don't have to waste time. So here, open the SRC test Java. Under that, ComApp DAO and open test DAO. Did you open this? Found it? Okay. Tell me what the first test case is doing. Okay. What is it I have auto-wired? Is a customer repo and a bank account repo, both. So tell me, what is the first one doing? The name itself is suggestive. Adding the customer details. How many customers am I adding here? Okay, 2. And by the way, okay, I forgot because there are so many things I wanted to show you. Here, if you look at the constructor, just take the cursor over here, and here it is having string customer ID. What is the standard pattern I have shown you? Integer and long. So once at least I wanted to show you, that if you insist, I don't know your business logic, project logic. So if you want customer ID as a string, can it be auto-generated, generated value, or does it have to be, user supplied? Of course, user supplied. How can it be automatically generated? Somebody said automatic. I don't know how to automatically generate the string customer ID. So that is why if you see my test case, I'm giving, this is my customer ID. This is your username, and this is her password. You got it? And here I'm also checking asserting equals whether the customer ID is fine and all that. Understood what I said? Is the test case clear? So just run the first test case. See, okay, by the way, just check, I forgot. So here, the table names, I'm just checking what are the table names. So for customer, it is bank underscore customers. So please check quickly. I don't think we have that. It will be a great idea actually. Let's do something more. Okay, let me ask you 1 second. If these are two separate microservices, two separate web application, will they practically share the same database instance or different one? Of course, different. So why not do more? Okay. So here, just there is a, okay. So I was going to combine it into one. Then I thought maybe this will be more impressive, more natural, or more, realistic. So create another database, create database. Let's say that 23. So add this. Anyway, 22 I'd use for 2022. But anyway, next year maybe. And here, please don't run the test case. Application property file, change SRC main resources, application property file, change it to 23. So that I can show you, you can actually visualize one REST service is running on port number 9090, 8080, whatever, employee management, and having that 22 as its database. Another microservice, another REST app running on 7070 using its own database. Making sense? Getting the clarity? You can learn all these techniques. And I'm not saying you do it Java based. You do it .NET based. You do it Node based. But use some kind of this microservices architecture. Okay, not full-fledged, but at least semi. Okay, so we did this. Please create that. Otherwise, you'll start getting an exception. So this is all empty database now. There is a, by the way, request parameter, create database if not exists, not doing it. And now simply run the test case. Which test case? To add the customers. The test cases I have written so that, not this, sorry, the down one. So that, our table data will get populated. So here, right click, double click on it, right click, run as JUnit test, and let's confirm. So it has created the table, insert, but I have to check that you remember that rollback thing. Oh, sorry. Use DAC 23. You also check, guys. Show tables, it has created. Select. Okay. So for update and delete, it requires rollback flag to be set to false, but insertion of 2 records has happened. Done or not? Got the records inserted in bank customers table after running the test case, or got an exception? Working fine? Okay. Now pick up the next test case. So this is top. I mean, the first test case, of course, it would pass because I'm checking the customer ID. Now look at my second test case. Don't run it. First, check what I'm doing. Tell me what is it I'm doing. Not a difficult thing at all. We just recently did something of this type. Okay, so first is, okay, linking is second step, this one. So first is, I'm getting the customer reference. Okay, find by ID, you remember, it returns me optional. So here I'm taking my chances. I'm saying I know because HDFC 001 exists. Creating 2 accounts. Can multiple accounts exist for the same customer? Yes, of course. So here, linking. This is where the linking accounts to customer. And how many entities are there when you say save method? 2 entities in persistent cache. So who will perform what? Automatic dirty checking done by container. Container means Hibernate. And we'll see whether the 2 records are inserted in the accounts. And thanks to these 2 lines, foreign keys also should be set. Understood what I'm doing? Generating lot of data. Not lot of data, but yeah, some kind of data. Yes or no? Others? Understanding the code? Okay, so let's run this test case. Only run this. Otherwise, you'll start getting constraint violation and all that. So let's see something inserting. Confirm. Select star from bank accounts this time. So you will be wondering, what is this new version column? Tomorrow, when I discuss optimistic locking, I'll explain that. So currently ignore. So account type, balance, and customer ID. See this. This is that foreign key which references the primary key of the customer's table. Tell me, all okay? So far? Understood also? Not just, it is not like just you run a test script and things are working. You have to understand it parallelly also. Spend good amount of time. First 2 hours I'll not disturb you at all. Okay, so this is so the data is set. Now, so your test cases are running, and the idea of writing the test cases or giving you ready-made test cases was populating data. Otherwise, I'll have to give you the insert queries and all. So all fine. Now run this application and let us test it directly with Postman. Anyway, its time is exceeding. So what I'll do is, look at this. This is your ultimate backend. You have a front end browser calling the APIs of employee management system, which is where I will add, unfortunately in the lab, the REST template, and that REST template will call the one microservice will call the another microservice, one REST API making another call. But this is a full-fledged REST API. So can I directly test it? Can I test this net banking REST server, the authentication part, using Postman? You just have to tell me yes or no. Of course, yes. So after we resume, I mean, resume means after your revision, I'll come into the lab, you ask me questions, everything. After all that, when we integrate, then we will add something called as REST client in that employee management, and then we'll make the service to service call. But till then we'll check. So you can say right click, run as Spring Boot app, and just confirm whether it is running. Should not have any exceptions here. So tell me, is the Tomcat server up and running on the port 7070 with the context path as blank? Okay. So I'll give you a minute to write a postman here. To write this. So which is the endpoint you are testing, guys? I need to see whether you are a good tester. You can check your own things at all. So here is the bank controller. So this is the endpoint I want you to check. So give me the URL. Method is obviously post, and give me the JSON body, which is called as payload. Waiting here for a minute. You do it on your own. I'll do it parallelly because looking at time. You understood my question? I want to test this endpoint before I add that REST template, REST client in the employee management system. Do that. Is the question clear, or the question itself is not clear? Some response. Is question clear? Repeat the question. That's why you should ask then this one. I want you to test this endpoint from Postman. So I have to tell you which endpoint. /bank/signin is the endpoint. You write something in Postman, make a call so that we will test this endpoint. Understood me, Girish, now? Okay, try it out. /7070. Oh yeah, thanks. And give me the JSON body. Yes, absolutely correct. So here, what is it we have got, guys? Login request. Have I given any JSON property, add JSON property annotation? I have not. You can always try this. So of course, like Yogesh, I guess, has said, customer ID and the password, and you know the values and all that. So let's try it in the correct manner. Customer ID is here. And your password. And later, imagine these things happening with Spring Security. So I know last few days have been heavy, but unfortunately cannot help because we are coming to end of your advanced Java. So has to be advanced. Okay, customer ID and all that. And send it. And tell me, what did you get? Guys, this is where things start getting interesting. Am I lifting the details from one table or multiple tables? It is an entity relationship. That is what you are going to require the most. So if you just copy the response here, you can see the whole thing done by Spring container in such a what? Direct manner, easy manner. Understanding is not easy, but of course that is where the learning curve is. So you can see that. You remember I have created a login response DTO. In that login response, I have got a customer name. And in that login response, you remember I created the list of accounts. List gets converted into what? JSON array. So the property name was in that login response accounts. And can you see all of this? Except the version, you can ignore rest of. You don't have to look at version, but here account has an account owner and all of it. Getting the information or not? Understood the response? Just give me a second here. I don't want to have this account response, getting the response, very good. In the meantime, I'm checking something. In the meantime, give some error, give some wrong customer ID and a password, and tell me what is it you are getting. Give invalid credentials, please. I wanted to see something in between, Actually, I've said fetch type is lazy. Then why I'm getting that account owner information from here? I'll have to fix that. I'll have to check that. Anyway, did you try this giving the thing? Just give a wrong credentials. And here, tell me from postman. We have done this in the morning half. So I hope you will be able to understand this. Getting the stack trace or no stack trace? Internal server error, fine. That's okay. But getting the stack trace, and how are you going to fix it, guys, in the lab as a hands-on? How to replace it by a meaningful error message? Everyone knows global exception handler, controller advice, and all of these methods. You know what I was looking at in the meantime? If I give the correct one, see this. EFC 1001. Here, okay, this I have copied the response. So here, I was getting, fine, customer name is fine, but I'm getting the account owner details. So many to one is by default eager fetching, but here I have made it lazy at many to one fetch type equal to lazy. So I'm just wondering why still it is giving me the response. I've already made the fetch type as lazy. So why it is giving me the account owner response even after I say this? So that is a food for thought. I'm still getting the account owner. There is a way to ignore the property. Okay, more we are going a little deeper in this. Anyway, I'm stopping here, don't worry. So there is a way to remove that. There's a JSON ignore. See, guys, when you see a problem, you have so many other things. So wait a second, 2 seconds. Here, let me, don't do this. I'm telling the serializer and deserializer, don't use this, ignore it, add JSON ignore, and let's try this. Because it should be under your control. It is not, it is gone. Account owner property. I'll explain this when everyone is here. Anyway, people have dropped out. So guys, what I could finish, I'm stopping here right away. So what I have done I have given you is basically the entire backend. So go revise. We have done a lot of things since morning. You have that sequence document, form binding, the validations, and exception handling. So do look at it, fix or add these controller advice and exception handling in this code. And in around 4:30, or I will join a little earlier, of course, but around 4:30, 4:45, we will continue to build the REST template. And hopefully, I would like to give you some idea about either Spring Security or Spring MVC. I'll decide at the runtime. Okay, so this is all we are saying here. I will give you the last this, just a second. I have added that JSON ignore. So what is that JSON ignore? I'll explain once we resume in the lab. What was it? Net banking REST server. Please edit the database settings all the time whenever you get this code. Yeah, I've sent you this with that additional things, but what was the problem and how I fixed it and what are the other ways of fixing it? I'll discuss all of it in the lab session. See you in the labs. Do revise the complete things, whatever I have said. Till then, see you around.